What are we calling this podcast?
Wherever the fuck we want. See that? Trademark that, Brian.
Oh, welcome to this disaster of a podcast with NC Shooter, Nicky, me and man Raz, Everything Era MMA, and Irish Fighters TV, Dave from Fans View and MMA in Depth.
Why does everyone get the name of my page wrong? It's Everton MMA Era. It's just a thing that's been going on for too long now.
We'll give you a plug anyway. We're going to talk about.
I'm joking. It's all right. It's all right. Here I am with the lads. How we doing, lads?
All good. All good. Tired.
All
Big
good.
weekend of fights.
So we're going to talk.
Yeah.
We're going to talk IUR Fighting Championship number 5. What's the verdict, Dave? You were ringside most of the day.
Savage, as usual. Matchmaker deserves a pay rise. Some of the fights on that card, there wasn't a huge amount of finishes, which does usually happen on that show. But the fights that went the distance, Conor McCarthy, Roman David, banger. Is it Daniel? I can't pronounce the second name from that.
Kampfer and Paul Fitz.
Yes,
No, another
yeah.
banger. Those SBG Nace lads actually came to fight. Dino Driscoll was quite good. I know Dewey lost out to Dom via rear naked, but that was another good fight.
Fight, yeah. Back and forward.
What was your favorite fight, Dave?
The two I mentioned, either Conor and Roman or Paul and Daniel. Like Paul and Daniel, as soon as that hit, that was like one of the first fights on kind of the amateur section. And then from there, I was just like, fuck, that's fight of the night. And then Conor McCarthy and like Roman came out steaming in the first round. Yeah. He hit heavy. And then like it was back and forth. And David hit heavy, but Conor was so precise with his strikes. But yeah, that was a very, very fun fight. And it just showed like the two of them had a lot of heart, man. Two of them were swinging until the very end.
Yeah.
Nicky, fight of the night for you, Nicky?
Fight of the night, I said pretty much the same as Dave. It sort of started off because that Paul Fitz fight was so early on. It was like, holy shit, that's fight of the night there. And then every fight after it, they all lived up to the hype of how much the card was being hyped up. But what turned out probably to be the most exciting while I was watching it was the Shea Clown, the Kane Mager one, because they are such young prospects that are high level. It's not like they're these little novices that have big potential. They're already at such a high level at such a young age that everything was so technical. And I think it was like there was a point where it was in an armbar and just rolled out of it, and it was like the scramble to get out of it was unbelievable. The back and forward on the feet was just top notch. And then whenever Shea, I don't know if it was like a mistake, but when he was holding that foot up, it just sort of gave Kane that opportunity to throw his other leg up and go for the flying armbar, and just sunk it in. And it just went from being a back and forward scramble match to being bang over, and it was like, holy shit, there we go in the ring. It was deadly.
Did you catch any of the action, Raz?
No, see, I was actually just going to say I was watching that over and over again because Dave sent me a couple of the clips of the fight. And it's insane how you watch these fights, right? And just like you said, two young guys going at it, very young age, very highly skilled. And then something like that happens. Like realistically, you see that in pro shows across Europe. You only see that at amateur level in Ireland, don't you?
100%. Well summed up.
It's insane, isn't it? And some of the finishes, like it's not just the finishes on the night, because I got a chance to look at some minutes with Dave, just kind of recording throughout the rounds. But it's just like the level that we are witnessing at such a young age just gives you so much hope for the future, doesn't it?
Yeah, we've definitely got some high level amateurs. We'll give a kind of brief rundown of the earlier fights. Keelan McAvoy defeated Leon Galley from Charlestown, unanimous decision. Thomas Mayer defeated David, how do you say that? Carlos from Nace, unanimous decision, and Oisin Daly defeated Morgan Clemens. So these were all IMAF novice rules.
Yeah, and it was that 3 in a row for Team Torres as well, but not the show. So
in the opening amateur fight, we had Moraru Georgie from Phantom versus Roy Burke. That could have went either way. It ended up in a split decision. It was a tight one to call. It was a back and
Rory
forth.
looked super impressive, so sharp. Distance control was next level. Just wasn't getting hit, and he just sort of seemed to be the takedowns was what he had to avoid to win, and he just didn't do that enough.
Yeah, best I've seen Rory Burke. Best performance I've seen Rory Burke. It was sharp, and it's one of them fights. If the decision had went the other way, you wouldn't have been disappointed. You couldn't have picked it. It was a bookmaker's dream. You couldn't have picked any of those fights there.
And that's high praise. Like when you look at Rory's performance last night, when you think back to his debut performance, even at Clan Wars against Damien McKenna, like from the get-go, that lad has been top class, and he's only fought the top lads since he started as well. I know him and Damien only started at the same time. That was both their debuts, but Rory's fought Jordan Bradshaw so many, and he looked super impressive last night. But so did George, and he's going to be fighting for a title soon as well, I believe, on Premier.
Yeah. And he's so unassuming as well. He comes out kind of just like super chilled and kind of head down, shoulders up a bit, and just goes in and just shits on people. Like, not that he did that last night, but like that's just like when those Phantom guys, when they get you to the ground, they're nasty guys. Like,
yeah.
Then we had out of the fights I saw, because I was only out for the first half of the card, and then I went back to Rap Hands. Paul Fitzgerald, Daniel Camphor from Houlihan Martial Arts. That had everything. The two of them were hurt. Daniel was hurt badly in the first round, got up, and then just slugged. It was a knockdown, drag-out war. It was definitely a great fight. Unanimous decision for Daniel. Then we had from Tullamore. How do you say him?
Mantavidis.
Mantavidis. Versus Stephen Cunningham. Another great fight. Stephen Cunningham finished with an armbar. Cut him badly.
Yeah, I actually sent Stephen a message this morning just congratulating him because it was so good to see him get a win, sort of like that, and that it wasn't the doctor's stoppage that sort of not robbed him, but like to see him get the finish after the doctor coming into the cage. And I'd asked him, I was like, what cut him? Because I missed what it was that hit him, and he said he landed a nice wee front kick and a right hand, left hand. I'm not too sure what the hand was, but he says it was like that combo cut him, and that's what sort of led to the takedown. So I missed that completely, but blood everywhere.
They were all great cards. Next up, then we had Dewey Harrison versus Dom Narcus from Team KF. Dom won third round rear naked choke. Another you couldn't have picked it. It was a nightmare for the judges, that fight. Only for the finish. Dino Driscoll versus Josh O'Donoghue was Josh won. Third round. Was that the right one?
Dean. Dean won
third round TKO.
Third round
Josh
TKO.
was actually stifling his striking because I seen Dean. He's quite sharp striking. I seen him occasionally, and like that was taken out the first and second round. But when Josh got tired, it started taking over. I know you see in the finish there's a couple of wide swings, but that boy hits hard, and he finished it in the end.
What else we had? We went then to Raquel Gonzalez versus Sarah Carney. Another. You couldn't have picked it. Unanimous decision, one for Raquel. That was Phantom, two for two on the day. They're on a tear at the minute.
I think Sarah got a lot of praise for that as well. Yeah.
Oh, big time.
Has improved a lot. Yeah.
Her striking. I there was 130-27, and I was kind of like, I thought Sarah's striking in the second round, especially. She looked it. It was like she downloaded the info the first round, and her timing on that jab. She was actually like she was hitting Raquel, and it was like Raquel was surprised, like how was she still hitting? She just kept popping the jab out,
Yeah, and she beautifully switched stances throughout. So she was always giving her something to think about. Like I was really impressed with the way she was switching from orthodox to southpaw. Just really mixing it up in the striking.
It did sort of seem as well that sort of based on what side of the cage you were sitting on, like was the difference between whether you thought who won, because I know where you're sitting, like for me taking pictures, I thought I was taking a lot more pictures of Sarah landing strikes and being more successful, but whenever we was moving around the cage at the end to go in for the pictures, I just was like, oh, Sarah was fantastic there, and then it was like other people were saying like, oh no, Raquel, and I was just like, Oh well, I don't know. Then I had it.
It's
That
really hard to judge sometimes, isn't it?
It's so hard. Like it's
You
so
think
because
you know it all, and then
yeah, from just
But
taking pictures, that's
what
my opinion. It's like I feel like I'm taking more pictures of that person being successful, but turns out it's just not the way. It's not the
Again,
way.
another
depends
one of
on a
the
little streak.
another one of those fights where if the decision had went the other way, you couldn't argue with it.
Yeah.
But is this not what amateur MMA is all about? Like
You know what?
realistically,
The matchmaking is so good on a year
Mm.
that's what you expect. They're so well matched that they
Exactly.
just kind of sometimes cancel each other out. You know, there's no dominant ones. There definitely wasn't really many dominant ones. There's only a few finishes
Mm.
on the card. Dara Rafferty defeated Donald Murray. Third round TKO.
Second round. Second round.
Second round, sorry, second. I wrote round 2 there. Second round TKO. That was the one where Chris Fields got a bit upset, was it?
Yeah, he
He
was
said there was strikes
making a
back
point
of
of
the head.
strikes to the back of the head. Yeah, since there was 3 in a row.
Mm.
I'd say.
From where we were sitting, Nicky, though, I watched back the video. You can see, like, but his body, Dara's body is blocking, so we can't see what
Yeah.
lands.
That
Obviously,
happened
Chris.
loads last night. That's that hateful thing being a photographer that like if you're just there watching the fight, you're watching the action, but when you're trying to take pictures of the action and it's happening on your side of the cage with their back to you, it's like I'll just take pictures of your spine for the next 30 seconds here and hopefully something happens and he's like I'm sitting there going, turn around, turn around, turn around. But when they hear me, but
Or do you know what?
works.
When you're sitting there with the video as well, when you're trying to catch a nice like submission, and then they just flip around, and you're like, oh, what am I going to do? And then you hardly can run around the cage to the other end. So yeah, but still, we do thank the athletes and the fighters for giving us these great moments. Unfortunately,
and that's why I always say, like, there's fighters come up to you like before the shows, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. You're gonna get a picture of me doing that," and I'm like, "Fight your fight. Don't try and do stuff towards me or do stuff for my benefit, because then if you lose, I feel terrible that you've went for something for the camera and go in there and fight your fight. Everything
I
outside
won't.
is relevant, apart from your coach."
I won't say who it was, but if someone actually came up to me and you, was it, and said, "Where are you going to be sitting? Where are you going to be sitting? So when I win, I'm going to come and I'm going to find you with your camera." And I was like, "No, just fight, man." And then he turns around and goes, "I'm planning all this. What happens if I lose?" And I was like, "Don't even think about that either."
I just walked away. I literally lifted my camera, walked away. I was like, I'm having no part of this.
And there was one stage where Keane McCartan as well, he was in our corner, do you remember? And I was recording and I just stopped recording. And as I do that, he starts like sticking out his tongue to me. And Browner said he said it on the commentary, fans, you will have a nice fucking caption there. And he goes, "Did you get that?" And I was like, "No, I missed it." He goes, "Bollocks, I announced that on air."
So the last 3 fights then of the undercard, Jake Gilpin defeated Alex Fagan by split decision. Kay McCartan defeated Shea Clellan by flying armbar, and Aidan O'Boyle defeated Jack Thorne by second round rear naked choke. And that was the prelims done. Now for the main card. So we had 5 title fights, 2 pro fights. The fight we were looking forward to the most, Jess versus Paul Buckley, only got bits and pieces of it in the background because I was still wrapping hands. Verdicts on it?
It was a difficult fight for both of them. It was hard for both of them. You could see both of them were like they were surprised with how good the other one was. That's what it seemed like to me.
100%.
I spoke briefly to Aaron Maguire then in the back after it, and that's one of the things he says. He says what they were expecting Jess to do, Jess didn't do. No. And he was just a real puzzle for Paul.
Yeah, I felt sick the whole fight. I was a nervous wreck. It's just like, I don't know what it is about those Santa guys, like, but I just have sort of formed that bit of a relationship with them that I'm like, it's like watching one of my mates fight now. It's just like, he's like hitting my mate. But at the same time, you're there as media, so it's like, it's class. Everything about it's class. But it was one of those fights again where a lot of the time was spent on the ground with their backs to us, that you didn't really have a good angle what was happening. But whenever the choke was set in, we weren't in a good place to be because of the noises. The Jess was fighting the choke was guttural. It was crazy. And I just say Sonic in the corner going, don't tap that last thing. That just if he just rode out that choke for the last, he might get the decision at the end. But honestly, it was such a war that the level that them two is going to be at now in their next fight is
Yeah,
going to be a sight to behold.
it kind of begs the question: what is next for them?
Yeah.
Are we here now with these two guys? Are they on the verge of pro?
Yeah, and like
I think
Jess
they
could be a
both
lot
would still
bigger than
wait a
Jess,
bit.
the slim guy. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah, I would agree with Dave on this one. Like I do understand that sometimes you come to these crossroads and you're like, okay, where does he go? What's going to happen next? But yeah, no, I do think maybe the pro scene is a bit too early. What do you think,
Oh,
Dave?
sure, for sure.
I think it's not that it's that's not my opinion. Because I talked to two of them. As I would to all the fighters, and Jess is very aware of what he wants to do and what he needs to do, and Jess is constantly like, right, after every fight I need to do this. So he's finding something from every fight, and I think especially with Darren, since he joined Darren, he's been on such a tear and he's been getting better and better every fight. I think Jess. I think a lot of the amateurs, Paul, like, and a lot of the amateurs around, they're going to use the scene to their advantage now because it's so high level, and fight all these high level guys. And what I like about the two of their rise is, Jess hasn't really done MMA that long, 2 years or something silly like that, and to be that good. And then Paul Buckley's just had an absolute tear of a year as well, and they've both reached the kind of pinnacle of the division at this time, and they were the two best guys against each other. So
I was actually surprised that that this was Paul's first welterweight fight. This is his first time he went welterweight. He was always fought at middleweight. Now his last defeat was against Fergal Jenkins in the IMAFs, the guy who went on to win the gold medal, arguably the best.
12-0.
Yeah, best amateur in the world, and you know the thing about Paul is he's a far better fighter now than he was in the IMAFs. He's improved so much. But are they kind of at the stage now where who do they fight? Who's next? Who's out there for them?
Honestly, you're just going to have. I think you just give Paul and Jess another go again, but give them weapons. Because when it comes to just using their bodies, it's just so well matched. Give them baseball bats or something. I don't know, headgear.
We can send them over to the UK and they can scalp a few heads and then come back to Ireland.
True.
Yeah, you know, we tend to do well over there. Unfortunately for them, unfortunately for us.
With the levels that we're at, like, sorry, 1 second, just with the levels that we're at, and fighters go so quickly, like by the time they fight again, people will have risen again. Senan Coakley, is he not welterweight as well? He's going to be knocking about it, like hitting titles next year.
Yeah. Davey, you're a straight shooter, you are, Davey. I'm telling it. Davey putting all the arguments to rest. The man himself, Irish MMA, what?
It's just been around, like yourself, been around the scene.
Yeah, he was like, no, listen, let me take this one now, Brian, and just put it down.
No, I just wanted to make that point that we think that there's no one left for them. Look how quickly people rise, and look how quickly amateur fighters improve fight to fight. So if they fight one more time, by the time the next round of shows come round, you could have a fighter that's fought 2 more times and go, right, well, there's someone in contention. Yeah, that's just my humble opinion.
And we have 3 shows to end the year, and by March next year we'll probably have another 6, 5. So plenty of fights and plenty of people coming up. You're totally right, Dave. I agree with you, Sensei.
The guru of Irish MMA.
I'm telling you now, the man knows everything. He's always on the blower. To everyone, left, right, and centre. You'd mention the name, you're like, yeah, I'm looking forward to that fight, and then he just whips into Wiki Dave. Love it.
I gotta start an Instagram page called Wiki Dave.
What do you call it? What do you call the woman in the Matrix knows everything? The Oracle.
The Oracle, yeah.
Nah, that's too much for Dave. Wiki Dave is as far as I'll go for this one, lads.
Next up, Conor McCarthy, Roman David. I didn't see this fight, so I'm all ears. Wiki Dave.
You need to.
The absolute
where do you watch these fights? What's the story? Like, I did see highlights, but apart from the live stream, if you didn't get the pay-per-view, it's very hard. You have to wait like months before they upload it to YouTube.
Yeah, the way Dickie runs his stream is that company he uses, they are phenomenal at what they do. and Decky does that so that he owns the footage. So
Okay.
it all gets
Okay.
processed professionally and all the rest of it. So it's the same quality when you watch it back once it's finished as if you had tuned in on the night. Whatever After Effects and graphics and stuff they can put into it. So I'm not too sure when the date will be for that, but I'm sure the page will be posting that. But yeah, that was my first time seeing Roman David fight. I'd heard a lot of hype about him, that the big outdoor card is apparently a savage on it. I wasn't around at that time, so
I can't match him.
Cracker fight. And then with it being a title defense as well, Conor McCarthy come in there, game as a Badger.
I'm actually so upset because that's the first fight I missed that Conor's in since the MMA Super Cup. Yeah, it's insane. And you see, like, you miss it, and then you're like, right, I have to, jump back on and rewatch everything. But once again, there's so much happening, and every time there's something new. Like, it's hard. Hopefully they do get them up, because it'll be nice to see them. Sometimes, like I said, that wait between shows, I feel that, if we had something where we could watch it instantly the next day, I think it'll do a lot of benefit for fighters and promotions.
Well, to be honest, I seen, I don't know if it was just, I'd be messaging the team and seeing, because I've seen quite a few fighters there today posting their full fight on Instagram. So people were obviously screen recording the stream last night. So there could be videos already.
Some of them do a reduced rate.
Raz, we don't recommend streaming it by the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
No, of course, yeah. But this is what I'm saying. Like, but after the fact, like, even if it was on a YouTube channel, because it is, like, you see the way this weekend, like, you don't have time to go and cover them. And I'm not saying this like in a negative way, but sometimes life gets in the way, and then just because we're having this conversation now and I'm getting to learn about a lot of these, but even if you have a point of interest, sometimes you just see it in writing, and a decision, a submission, a knockout doesn't really tell the story of the fight. Like you said, there's been so many of them throughout this card where you feel it could have went either way. There's a lot to study when it comes to film. And it's generally a nice, it's a nice thing, especially if you're following someone. But that's just a general overview. So, there's no pointing fingers or anyone.
Yeah. Just one. So I don't know. Your fighting championship deck is usually quite quick, like Brian said, to get them up onto YouTube. That wasn't the case last time. I'm not sure what it was. I think it was because I think a lot of people might not buy it and think it's going to be out in a couple of days' time. I don't know if he's going to do what Virtus and all done. They actually done a reduced rate of like a $5 or something that you could buy the next day, and it's like that for 48 hours or something, or until the Wednesday. So maybe hit Decky up and see if there's something that you can do, and you might be able to get the whole pay-per-view.
Yeah, no, it would be great, because obviously, like I said, like, some of these fights, like, you see, Dave, when we post something the next day, because we're usually the first ones to do it. We're in there like swimwear, 2-minute job, and you have to knock out the fights. But you just see, it kind of shows how important it is, the pay-per-view overall, because as a fan, you don't really get to see that. You buy the pay-per-view, you don't know who's watching, but you really do see it the day after the fact and 2 days after the fact, and people are digesting these victories. Yeah, like, people are jumping on to anything and everything that's fight related, and it's a really nice thing to see, isn't it?
And that's 100% the thing with me. Like, I'm not watching the fights. I'm taking pictures of them. I don't really know what's happening. I'm just taking pictures of moments and going like, oh, he punched him at that time. He went for this at that time. Like, I would love to be just like to be able to go home and go, right, I'll buzz through these while I'm editing pictures and see what the crack is. 100%.
Yeah, and especially when you get caught up in it, because obviously you're always on your mind. You're always looking for something. You're looking for your next shot. You're watching the fight. You might be looking for a finish. You miss out so many things. It would be great. It's nice that we've opened the discussion. If someone watches this, maybe they'll come up with an instant service. We'll help them. Thumbs up.
Media only service.
What?
A media only service that we can watch the next day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have been on shows where I've sent the promoter a message the next day and been like, any free links to the pay-per-view, and I've got them. I just can't remember what it was. Might have been Cage Legacy.
I wonder, is Cage Legacy going to be like that, because it's going to be on Fight TV now? I don't want to jump ahead, but is that what Fight TV are offering apart from just the pay-per-view service? I'm guessing.
No. It's you can rewatch it then, because like I have Fight TV app. I used to buy all the Braves, and you could like watch them straight away.
That's unreal. Yeah,
that's a game changer then. That's a big step.
Huge game changer. I'm going to be absolutely taking everything off that for the next Cage Legacy. So I'll be looking for that password and username, please, Brian. Sharing is caring for your good pal.
If you do a good job.
I always do a good job. We always do a good job. The A team does a very good job. Changing the game. Always. No, I'm joking. Go on. I'll keep it PG. Let's continue on with
Right,
IUR.
we'll finish this card. We're going to the last few fights now. So we have Adam McEnroe versus Aaron Boyle. Unanimous decision won for Aaron Boyle.
Yeah.
He looked to have him in trouble at the end of the first. I was kind of glancing. He had him like a kind of anaconda darce choke. Was that the first round?
It was all, there's just danger constantly. But yeah, definitely towards the end there, it was looking like it could have been swayed maybe, but
was he saved by the bell in the first
I don't
round?
know.
Hard to know.
I don't think so. I don't think he looked in much trouble. But like the first round, Adam dropped Aaron within the first 10 seconds or something, didn't he? He nearly finished the fight, nearly off the bat.
Real stiff jab. Just put him on his hole and then was able to recover after a bit of a scramble and then
what was Adam's wrestling like, lads? Sorry. What was Adam's wrestling like? Because I know he's been working quite a bit on that. What was that like?
It was countered by some superior balance. The amount of times takedowns were going, and the guy was just being able to stay on his toes and keep himself. Aaron Boyle, very impressive.
Very nice, very nice. And what, that was a vacant title as well, or was that
that's an interim title?
Interim, yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting. So that's going to be a nice fight for the next event, then, yeah.
100%.
Very
who is the lightweight champion?
Aaron McDonald. Well, Max, then Aaron. So this is actually the interim. If you want to get technical about it, because Max held it, Max was injured, Aaron won it, and now there's
Aaron
another
won at
interim.
The last fight you were. Was it the second last one or the last one?
The second last, not the last one, the one before it. But Max had said when he talked to me, he said like he vacated it basically because he knew he was coming back to Cage Legacy, so it'll be an interim. So it'll be Aaron McDonald whenever he's coming back to fight, because he fought in August, and I think he won't be fighting again till the new year. Your Decky actually came onto one of my lives there. It looks like end of February, start of March, your fighting championship will be back.
Nice.
So the vacant featherweight title remains vacant. Tiernan Loughran versus Craig McGrattan, draw.
Yeah.
So obviously there was a 10-8 round there, was there?
Yeah, first round. Yeah, and just when you mentioned when you asked there about the last fight, was he saved by the bell? Tiernan Loughran was saved by the bell in the first round because Craig got into a belly down armbar right at the last second, and it was clean. Everything was in place that needed to be in place, and then boom, time up, and had to roll out of it. Very, very, very impressive.
And then Tiernan got up and won the next 2 rounds.
Yeah, just held him down. Craig couldn't get up, couldn't get out of position. He had sort of threatened a bit of I don't know the jiu-jitsu name for it, but like he was dragging his arm up his own back, from being on the box.
Like his Annie handcuff.
Yeah, but it's like pulling it up his back, like it's like a bouncer, you know, kind of like a.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Like he was checking.
Yeah.
No, I remember now because he had his arm and Chris was screaming, pull it up, and that's because his arm was, he had it trapped here, and then he was like pushing it up, and I was like, oh, it's happened to me a couple of times, getting thrown out. That does hurt.
And then just with Chris Fields being on my immediate left, not that he needed to be on my immediate left to hear him. That's what he was calling for, and it was like booming it in my ear. So I just like, focusing on what I can take a picture of them based on what Chris is telling him what to do. So everything that he had tried to get out of it, Tiernan was just able to stay on top of him and hold him in the position and stay active enough that refs weren't intervening. So yeah, rode him out for the last 2 rounds and got the draw.
It's very hard not to hear Chris Fields, isn't it?
That's
when he's
crazy.
cornering one of his fighters.
There's actually a picture. I don't know what fight it was, but it's like Chris is in the background. And he's just standing there with his hand on the cage. He is a serious looming figure. Like, it's just an intimidating guy. Like, nuts.
But you need that. Like, you need someone shouting
Yeah.
that. You need that instructions. But when he's shouting at those boys, I'm like, lads, will you just fucking do as he says? Because I
Yeah.
feel like you're about to
Oh,
get in
you're not
trouble here.
listening to me. You're not listening to me.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And
What are you doing? I'm
I'm
like,
sitting there going, lads, just listen to him. Just fucking do as he says.
But listen, it's working. It's
Yeah,
working.
oh,
They're having
yeah.
a fantastic year this year, honestly. And people are gravitating towards that gym as a whole. You know, so many people went through different gyms and ended up in Team KF and enjoyed it, and here they are. So, you know, credit to them. They're doing a brilliant job out of that gym.
And we can't forget Tom King as well, who's
Yeah.
the silent partner, shall we say? Tom's so quiet. But I call Chris Fields the human PlayStation, because it's almost like he's controlling them guys. He'll say left hand up, and you'll just see them immediately do it.
Yeah. No,
Great
got that
coach.
relationship.
Do you remember, Dave? I was actually cutting the highlight reel, I think, for IUR, and it was one of the fights. Is it Julian? And all, like, he was going in for a submission, and all you could hear was like, Julian, get him! So I was like, Jesus Christ! And you could hear. I had the music on, and you could hear it over the music. I literally had to turn it all the way down to get the music up. Like, no, I'd say it's that battle cry. You're just in the cage there, and you need that. You know, when you need your fans, that extra bit of push for you. I think that's a great example of it. I would say.
Have you ever heard Goddard and Cage Warriors telling them to be quiet? I think it was one of the COVID events where it was behind closed doors. And Goddard, like refereeing the fight and shouting, "Chris, be quiet, be quiet."
Chris doesn't have them settings.
No, but you have to give KF credit, because they came in on like two-day late replacements for Dewey, and it was for Dewey and Donald came in last minute replacements.
And Donald come in and fought 2 weight classes above what he normally fights at.
Yeah.
So did Dom. He fought.
I was packing a punch too.
Yeah. So they deserve massive credit, because they're active. They're putting their guys on whatever shows that they can, and like that. Decky said that thing was up an hour on his page, and I think Chris Fields had seen it, or someone from KF had seen it, and one of the fighters actually sent it to Chris, and he's like, "It's done already. Like, it's done. Like, he'd already sorted it."
Yeah, no mucking about.
So next fight on the card is the bantamweight title, defending champion Elvis Luco versus Ronan Deegan.
I mean, that kid Ronan Deegan, before you go on,
he is that motherfucker. Like,
fantastic kid, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. After the previous fight, after that Craig McGrath fight was over, the sort of energy was kind of sucked out of the room a bit, because like when the decision was made of the draw, both teams were just like, what the fuck? And Craig stormed out the cage, and the room was a bit sort of deflated, and then it was kind of just echoes of like, here we fucking go, this next fight, was coming up. Like, it's sort of, everyone was just reeled back into it. That's right, there's still fucking 3 bangers left on the card, and Ronan is just that guy. Like,
wow, so humble, but yet so relentless. Unreal.
Yeah, he has been on a tear this year. He definitely has been on a tear.
He's the champion premier as well.
Yeah. He's 10-2 in 13 months. He's 10-2 in 13 months.
Yeah.
5 fights.
In dominant fashion.
Only Jordan Bradshaw, I think, has had more fights than him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was actually watching your podcast there the other night, and you were having that conversation.
When Wiki Dave came out.
Yeah.
Only Jordan Bradshaw.
Oh, fuck's sake! Now he's had.
Look what you said. No, but
trademark
that shit. And then be upset, isn't
it? Raz is on the computer now. Trademark Wiki Dave, so the motherfucker never uses it again. Fuck that. No. But like, going into that, I was looking at that fight going, you've got Luco. It's either going to be one of 2 ways. Luco's going to go in and he's going to do what he does to everyone else, right? Or it's going to go the way it went. It was going to be Ronan was going to smother him. And it went to smother him. But even Nicky, me and you were sitting beside him. Even when Elvis was throwing the punches back, like the
Yeah.
noise that
Yeah.
was, I was like, but because you could hear it hitting Ronan's head and Ronan's head hitting the canvas.
Yeah.
And I was just like, the thud in that. And he got out of some positions as well that other people wouldn't. Like, he just seems to have this raw strength. But obviously, the chain wrestling is so good from SPG to Lamore that, like, Ronan can just advance from position to position to position, smother you, and make it seem so easy when it's like doing that to Elvis Luco is not easy. No one's been able to offer anything really against him. And he's fought Taylor Quinn, Oisin Fox, Kieran Brady, like high jits guys like that. And he's got them to the ground. Yeah. And it's like when they go for an armbar, it's like, how dare you try and armbar me? And then he just beats the shit out of him with the other arm. Like, so, like, you have to look at what Ronan done and just like on the video I have, I'm just going like, wow, what a performance.
Yeah, just what you were saying about those punches. Like, I thought I was going to see the first ever TKO from that position, like punching over the back of your head and like landing perfectly, and like his head held down onto the canvas. They were solid as. I was like, he's going to finish him here off a bad position, and then just nope, not today.
And that's not taking any credit for the Luco bros, because they are untouchable in so many ways. Yeah. Like you said, Dave, come in, quick, fast, boom, see you later. Remember, he was trying to. It was IUR when he was trying to submit someone, and he was on his head, rolling around on his neck, trying to get an armbar. Like, listen, them two guys are incredible, and I do think that I do feel that we are giving Ronan so much more credit because of that, because I think that was one of them when you're like, okay, well, like if you ever do get called up to a main event or a big fight like that, you didn't crumble, and you did exactly what you did to your other opponents. So it's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, and all of the pre-fight interviews and podcasts that were done, the face-offs and stuff like that, like all of their own predictions. Ronan was saying, second, maybe third round submission. And
it's always the quiet ones,
that thing of like, well, if I don't finish him in the first, I'll finish him in the second. Don't finish him in the second, I'll finish him in the third. And it's just because that's what all the talk was saying. That's why it's getting the response it's getting now.
Was that what that was on some show, wasn't it? Someone's show earlier. I don't know what their name is.
I was on Energized Show, Raz. Don't pay.
Oh, was it? It was the two Harry Potters.
Cut that out.
Don't cut that out.
Snipping that out. Yeah.
Dave's gone quiet, hoping that he'll disappear off the screen for that part.
Oh God! I'm not here. Fucking don't be dragging me. People don't be dragging me into your own beefs.
We're being objective here. We're not.
I don't have beefs with anyone. I just like I'm adding a bit of entertainment to your show, as well as giving you my platform to shine.
Oh, right. Last two fights, the two pro fights.
You're not to say, yes.
Moving swiftly along.
Fuck's sake, not a bleeding.
You're just going to have like one of those technical difficulties screens rolling over like doo-doo.
Normal service will resume shortly.
It's like, Raz isn't taking this.
So we were just saying there, moving on.
Swiftly moving on to the next one.
I feel like
Alexander Yankov versus George Courtney. Alexander Yankov is one. It's a strange fighter because he's better than his record suggests he is.
Yeah, 100%.
He's now 2-3 against, I would safely say, just talking to George yesterday after that might be the last time we'll see him in a cage. He's 40 years old now, and what a servant he's been. The MMA north of the border, like he's been a great lad.
Brian, you obviously have a bit more on this. So tell us what actually happened, because he had a retirement speech at the Fight Project, and then obviously whatever it was with his opponent, is that why he came back, or
So he actually was a replacement for this fight. No, I just was briefly talking to him when I was wrapping his hands, and I was giving him the old banter, like, I thought you retired, and he was not definitely retired this time. Just wrapping his hands, just the chance come up. Rodney says to him, and he just says, "Well, why not? Let's do it."
Okay.
It wasn't. There's no.
It was
no reason behind it, or it wasn't to fulfill anything. It's just like, one last hurrah, let's go.
It was his teammate that pulled out, and I think he felt like that fuck it, I'll just take the chance,
Yeah,
save the fight
sort
for
of.
Alex, and go in. And he went up, and like fair play to him, 40 years of age, retired. So like I spoke to him, I don't think he had went and he wasn't training. He'd finished and then wasn't training. Took it on 11 days notice, up a weight class against a very, like you said, dangerous Alex. And I said previously, his record does not speak for his skill,
No.
because he's just fought the hardest people. Like he's not taking these easy fucking fights. And it was potentially a bad matchup for George, and he went in and he was game, and like
Yeah.
he defend, like I was watching that and he was defending for a lot of it, right? And I was thinking, so if I was 40 years of age, right, I went in and I replaced my teammate, I'd just be like, you know what, just fucking choke me, get it over with. He fought to stop every choke, to stop every potential submission to the end. Like there was no quitting him. He showed up. He didn't show up just to be a replacement. He showed up to fight and not to lose and to try and get that victory. But like going up a weight class after your retirement, he wouldn't have been back into training properly. He was probably like halfway thinking, right, Christmas time now. So fair play to him.
He
That has
has
to be
the
said.
heart. He has the heart of a lion. He's been a brilliant service to the MMA up north.
But just before you go
After-
on, what do we do with Yankov next? Does he stay in IUR? Does he keep going? What's going on? What do you think?
You need to find someone with similar record. And off the top of my head, I don't know anyone with like a kind of with 5 fights, kind of like half and half, like 3-2 or 2-3. That's
Yes,
something I'd look into. But I'd say it'd be a couple more regional shows. I'd say definitely.
No, but this is what I
IUR.
meant. Do you think that we're going to be seeing a lot of these? Because obviously this is the first time that he did the 2 pro fights. Maybe there is something there where we're probably going to see a couple of more, and it's going to be centered around the same group of people, as opposed to putting new people in every time. Or do you know more about that, Dave?
No, he was actually originally slated to have 4 fights on this, 5 fights on this. One was supposed to be the debut that fell through, I think. But Darren O'Brien was supposed to be on it, and there was another fight that was supposed to happen as well. Forgive me now, they're probably gonna be like, how'd you forget my fight? But there was supposed to be 4. So that just goes to show this is their 5th show. They were planning on 4 pro fights. So I think it might go around the likes of Alex and that until he gets opportunities abroad. Like Martin will probably always be on it because he's the hometown lad. So
But this is what I was trying to get at, because obviously there is something there where, you know, it's obviously going to be like the entertainment factor because you're in your hometown, and it's brilliant to be able to fight professionally in your hometown for your first couple of fights, you know, especially when things didn't go your way to kick off your pro career.
Yeah. So well, Alex is from Dublin. He's from Dublin. Martin's from Newry, but the two of them have been on both cards now. They fought each other in the first one, so Martian will probably stay on it, and Alex will probably stay on it because Alex brings the compound lads brought a crowd as well.
They did have a huge crowd. I took a picture for him right at the end, and it was a full squad. Like they filled the bus.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Brilliant.
So main event, Marcin Zambala versus Roger Lopez. Marcin wins by unanimous decision. Again, I only caught the tail end of this fight. Another home run for Marcin. What an atmosphere when he fights. The place is bouncing when he fights. Why would he want to fight anywhere else?
The whole fight, like
even the crowd around watching him are all wearing his t-shirts. You know, they come out in force to support him. Fair play to Newry, fair play to the guys. And I only caught the tail end of the fight. Dave?
If you caught the tail end of the fight, if you've seen the last round, you'd say Roger, obviously, because that was a very dominant Roger round. Like that was if that was the second round, I would have thought like the third round might have been more the same. But Martin in the first and second round, I think took it. Like the one of the rounds was quite close as well, but I think Martin edged it in two of them. Like he was able to, like with the jits and the wrestling, and he was landing some lovely shots as well. It was just Roger had such a good, like he actually had a fan. After the first 2 rounds, to see someone come out in the third round like that, I was like, wow, this guy has heart. Like it was like we were sitting right beside most of it. And like Martin, when he actually got up, it looked like it looked like he had been defeated, even though he'd won the first 2 rounds. If you get me, he just kind of like it felt like he was upset with himself for what happened in the last round.
Yeah. It was the first round that was close because, like, obviously Roger having like a dominant striking game as his like skill set. He was so explosive, and there was like if there was any gap that Marson left him by throwing like a big wide hook or something like that there, Roger just explode and land 5 or 6 clean shots, really good combinations, piecing stuff together. And then it just kind of went back to being Marson being a bit more well rounded. Second round definitely more dominant for Marson, and then like you say there, Roger just being able to put more and more together in the last round, and I think that's what led to him being a bit upset whenever his hand wasn't raised at the end. He seemed very shocked they hadn't won, but I think that was just due to the recency of the third round being so good for him that it was taken off him at the end to be like, right, not saved by the bell, but it was just not landing at will, but finding a lot of success.
But like you said, with the first round, if you're him and you're looking at that and you're looking at it, obviously you can have bias towards yourself. If I was him in his shoes and he had some success, like he might be thinking he won that first round as well. Like the other people might have as well. Like I personally thought it was the 2-1 to Marson. There was a close round, but there was a dominant round then from kind of each of them. So
the judges obviously agreed with you because it was 29-28 across the board.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
Very fair.
So verdict on IUR number 5 then?
It just lived up to the hype. That's all you can really say about it. It's like the post I did on Facebook today with our pictures. It was like, yeah, it was kind of put on a bit of a pedestal because everyone was saying how good the matchmaking was, and yeah.
This was actually a card, and I was saying this to Decky yesterday. If this was a card where I wasn't working on it, that's one I would have paid and come to watch. I was just so excited for some of them fights on there. You know, where does it go from here? Can he better that? Probably.
I think he can.
He's like an evil mad scientist of MMA matchmaking at the minute. He is just on point. But again, as we were saying the last time, he puts together the fights that the people want to see, that the fighters want to fight in, and there's none of this to and fro, and it's you fight him, and that's the way it goes. You know, with pullouts and things like that, I'd say he had an absolute nightmare. He has an absolute nightmare coming up the fight week, but very rarely, like we said it the last time, very rarely do you ever get replacements that maybe live up to or even better the original matchups.
They were masterstrokes, to be honest. Masterstrokes. Roman David and Tiernan Loughlin coming in as last minute replacements. Like they're guys that you would assume would be on the card anyways. Obviously, Roman is finding quite a hard time getting matched, from what I believe. Tiernan is obviously well known. They're two guys that you expect to be on the card. For them to come in as replacements, like, is unheard of, I think. I think it's unbelievable.
Good.
Was Donal Murray was the replacement, not Roman. Roman was there all along, was he not?
No, it was supposed to be Liam McHugh versus Conor.
Ah, yes, I sorry, I get that mixed up.
Which is a fight I still want to see. I think building on this, I think a lot of fighters will want to go to Decky for their pro debut because of the way things run. What we don't realize is what a lot of that matchmaking was as well. Yesterday, he was making number one contenders, and I'm sure I'm going to be talking to him this week, and he's going to tell us who those number one contenders are. So we're going to have kind of a blueprint of what's going to be happening in the next IUR Fighting Championship. I would believe. Usually we do 1, 2, or 3 days after the show, so I'm just waiting to hear back from him. So.
Yeah, and the potential matchups to come out, as you say, the Liam versus Conor is definitely one you want to see. Now possibly Aaron Boyle,
Aaron McDonald
with Max Lally hanging around in the background.
That's it depends. Max is going to Thailand. It depends. Max has kind of let go of that title, so I don't know what the two Aarons will have to fight it out essentially. So I don't know after that. What's going to be interesting now is the featherweight title, because what was really interesting about that is not one person who was booked in the original thing made it to the final. Armand, Damien McKenna, Rory, and Andrew Barrett. Right. So are they going to try rerun that again?
Hopefully.
Or the semi-finals will end in draws as well, and then we'll just be
Um,
a stalemate.
I'm sure Deggy has something up his sleeve where, as you say, these fights were possibly planning for the next one, and yeah, I can't wait for it. So he's thinking early next year.
End of February, early
March.
March is what he said on my live stream. Anyways, he said, "So I've heard," laughy faces, which means he's looking to book the end and the start.
So that's your number 5 5-star event. Some unbelievable.